Hello and good morning my dear students. Welcome you to this session. Students, in previous 3 sessions we had discussed many things regarding matter. What is matter? Matter is something that has mass and occupies space. Next we studied different states of matter. In the second session we studied different states of matter, and they are solid, liquid and gas. In the third session, we studied different properties, and also we studied how the molecules, those are the little particles, tiny particles that makes the matter, how molecules are arranged in each states of matter. In solid, molecules are tightly packed, and in liquid they are loosely packed, and in gas they are freely moving all around in each and every corner of the container, isn't it? Next, we studied different properties, that is matter has mass, matter can be heavy, matter can be light, matter can be rough, matter can be soft, matter can be transparent, translucent and even opaque. There were many properties that we learnt about in the previous 3 sessions. But today we shall learn the next topic of that lesson, that is nature of matter. What shall we study today? What is the module of, what is the concept that we will be learning today? Heat. What do you mean by heat? Heat is that is hot, isn't it? What will happen if you heat any matter? This is the topic today. This is the question that you will have in your mind, isn't it? Even I want to share few topics about, concept about this heat. When you heat some matter, what happens? So that means effect of heat on any matter, effects of heat on any matter. Now let's take a simple example, that is ice. I'll draw a diagram here, just go through it and let's discuss about it. Now this is an ice. I shall keep it in a small tray. Okay. This is ice. This was inside the freezer. When it is inside the freezer, it is in which state? It is in solid state. Now as I took the topic heat, the atmosphere itself has natural heat. You needn't give any external heat, isn't it, to melt this, right? But still I will draw here. Let's heat it. We'll switch on the flame. Let's heat it. What happens when it gets heated? What happens when it gets heated? Yes, it completely turns to a different state of matter. It completely turns to be a different state of matter. That is, it turns to, yes, tell me, it is water. It completely turns to be a water. Now how did it turn to matter? Water. Now water is in which state? It is in liquid state of matter. Now on heating, it turned to water. So this is the effect of heat. This is the effect of heat. When you heat some matter, it expands. When you heat any matter, for example, of course it will be solid only. When you heat a solid matter, it changes the matter. The solid changed to liquid when it was heated, when it got a heat, isn't it? When the water was in the freezer, it turned to ice, and when ice was heated, it turned to water. That means when a solid is heated, it expands. What happens here? It expands, and by the heat, it turned to be water, and water is a liquid state. Now again, let's heat this water. What happens when you heat this water? Yes, it starts bubbling. What happens? It starts evaporating. Even this is a form of expansion. On heat, it turns to be vapor. Now vapor is in which state? It is in gas state or gaseous state. So everywhere you can find heat. This explains or this says that solid on heating or liquid on heating or any state on heating, it expands. So the changes of matter takes place on heating. This is the effect of heating. So let's read this point here. Effect on matter. What happens? That is change in state of matter. Lesson number, page number 146. Change in state of a matter. Now what is change in state of matter? When you heat a solid, it expands and it changes from solid to liquid, and liquid on heating again it changes to gaseous or gaseous matter. Now let's read it. Change in state of matter. When an object is heated, of course when an object, here the example that I gave is ice. When an object is heated, there will be a rise in its hotness. Of course here it may not rise in its hotness, but of course it will melt, right? It will melt. The state of matter changes due to heat. As I explained you, the state of matter changes. Solid to liquid, liquid to gas on heating. Isn't it? Yes. Write the states of matter in the following situation. Here are few situations given in the textbook. Let's read it. You have to write the answer for this. Ice cube on heating. The first example that I give, ice cube. When you heat, it turns to liquid, that is water, and when you heat the liquid, it turns to gas. Water on heating, yes. Same again here, water on heating, it turns to water vapor, and from water vapor it turns to a gaseous state. Vapor on cooling. Now this is a reverse process. This vapor on cooling. What happens here? Vapor on cooling. It again forms to a liquid state. This is what happens in the cloud. The vapors that is evaporated vapors, it goes to the forms cloud, and they again on cooling, the vapor on cooling it becomes cloud. Same thing it happens here, that is vapor on cooling it becomes liquid again. It becomes liquid, that is it turns to water. This is a total reverse process, isn't it? Ice on heating it turns to water. Water on heating it turns to vapor. Vapor on cooling, the reverse process. Vapor on cooling it becomes the liquid, and liquid again on cooling. What happens? You know it. It turns to be solid again, that is ice, isn't it? This is a reverse process. Now, okay, vapor on cooling it becomes water, and water on cooling it becomes solid, that is ice. Did you get the point of change of matter? So this is the effect of ice. That what happens is effect of heat. What happens due to the effect of heat? There will be change in state of matter. Because of the effect of heat, there will be change in state of matter. So let's read again. Matter changes its state from one form to another. Matter changes its state from one, that is solid to liquid, liquid to vapor. From solid to liquid, liquid to vapor. This is called as change in state of a substance. So underline this point, that is matter changes its state from one form to another due to heat. The main point here, the main concept is heat. When you apply heat on any substance, what happens? The change of state of that substance takes place. Here, as I told you, ice. Take example of plastic. Plastic, when it is in solid state, when you heat it, what happens? Don't go to touch that, but you can see that the plastic starts melting, isn't it? After melting, it starts leaving some gas, that is carbon dioxide. Again, when it is cooled, what happens? The melted plastic turns to be liquid. So this is one more example for the change in state of substance. So let's read. On heating, many solid changes into liquid state. Many solid but not all. Effect of heating on a matter depends upon the level of hotness. Even here, take the example of ice again. When you give a mild heat, the process takes place slowly. But if you give a high heat, the ice will melt within seconds, isn't it? It depends on the level of hotness. If it is too high, if the flame is too high, ice melts within seconds. But same thing, if you give a normal lab temperature without the flame, it takes at least 10 minutes for the ice to completely melt and turn to liquid. Okay? On increase in the heat, solid changes into liquid and liquid changes into gas. Same here. If you keep the liquid in a normal lab temperature, no, it doesn't melt to doesn't turn to gaseous state. So what you need is, you need a high level of heat here. You need high flame, high level of heat. Only then it will turn to vapor. So it depends on the level of hotness. The change of state of substance depends on the level of hotness. In the same way, on cooling, gas changes into liquid and liquid changes into solid. As I told you here, gas changes into liquid and liquid changes into solid by cooling. Okay, this is the effect of cooling. See, there are a few examples. Ice cube, as I told you, heating turns to water. On heating, again it turns to vapor, and from vapor it has come to the reverse process. You can see here in page number 146. From vapor, it has on cooling it has turned to liquid again, and from liquid again to the solid state. Okay. Next, few more example. Take iron rod. You have seen the blacksmith. What does he do? He keeps the iron rod to the high flame. The temperature will be too high. If he keeps that iron rod into that flame, what happens? He starts beating on it. Why does he beat? To give a particular shape to that iron rod, isn't it? If he wants to make a knife, what he has to do? He has to take a rod, he has to heat it to a higher level of temperature, and then hit on it to give a shape of that knife. Now what happens here is, the ice starts expanding. Sorry, not ice, iron starts expanding. The iron starts expanding, and because it expands, the blacksmith could give a particular shape to that iron rod by hitting on it. That is one more example in the change of state of matter. The iron has completely turned to a molten iron. Molten iron in the sense a liquid form of iron, isn't it? Now again, when it is cooled, if the iron is hit in high temperature, it gets a shape of a knife. But if you leave it as it is, what happens is, it again will start melting and start flowing up. But what he has to do is, he has to take it out from the heat and to get a particular shape, he has to cool it down again, isn't it? So this is the process of heat, and also the reverse process, that is the cooling. Next important property of a solid that is kind of very interesting. If you have seen, of course, this, what is this? Incense stick, udubatti. Have you seen this? Yes. When I lit this, what happens? When I lit this, of course, you will get a very pleasant perfume, isn't it? A very perfumic fragrance you will get. But what happens? Just observe. Okay, now let me switch it off. Yes, this is a solid, isn't it? This is a solid. Can you see? You can see the gas, you can see the solid, you can see the gas. Where is the liquid here? Can you see the liquid here? No, there is no liquid nowhere. Can you see? See. I am not touching the flame, but I am touching the surrounding. There is no flame. The solid has turned to gas. It has turned to its vapor form directly without entering the liquid state. A solid, incense stick, that is a solid, on heating has directly entered to its vapor state, that is gaseous state. A solid to direct gaseous state without entering the liquid state. As you have learned in the change of state of matter, solid turns to its liquid state and then to the vapor state by heating. But what has happened here? The solid has directly entered the vapor state without entering the liquid state on heating. Now my dear student, this process is called as sublimation. Now this process is called as sublimation. Let me read it once again. Solids, the example that I gave is incense stick. Solids on heating directly convert into their vapor state. Solids on heating directly converts into their vapor state and vice versa. Now what is vice versa? You know, coming ulta, if I use your normal language, vice versa, without passing through the liquid state. Is it clear? Solid, I have shown you the example, the easiest example that you can see at your home, that is the incense stick. When it is heated, when I heated, you could see there nothing melted here, nothing melted. Did you see any liquid dropping down? No, the liquid didn't drop down, but it had converted to gaseous form here, isn't it? So this is the one example. The one more example is camphor. Now what is camphor? Camphor is karpura. Now what is karpura? Where do you use it? For arati at temple, isn't it? You use karpura, that is camphor. What happens when you lit the camphor? You can see it doesn't melt. It will be in its normal solid state, but it gives out the vapor state, isn't it? You might have seen in the temple, they use karpura, they use camphor. What does it do? When you heat, what happens? It will be in its solid state, it gives out the flame, it also gives out the vapor, but it does not turn to a liquid state. One more is naphthalene ball. What do you mean by naphthalene ball? Goli, we say it, we use it in the wardrobe or almirahs to prevent it from some germs or some insects, isn't it? Have you observed it? If you had kept it inside the wardrobe 1 month ago, if you see it today, there won't be naphthalene balls. So that is one more example for sublimation, wherein the solid, that is naphthalene ball, has not turned to the liquid state, but it has directly turned to the vapor state, wherein vapor could not be seen, it has been absorbed by the clothes around, isn't it? So let me read it again. Sublimation is, the definition of sublimation is solids on heating directly converts into their vapor state and vice versa without passing through the liquid state. The solid on heating directly converts to the solid state without entering the liquid state. Example is incense stick, camphor. Iodine is also a solid iodine. When it is heated, it directly gives out gas, but it does not turn into any liquid state. So this is a important phenomenon. You have to know what is sublimation. You might have seen the incense stick, udbatti burning. You will enjoy the perfume or everything, but you won't be knowing the concept behind it. How does it work? Why it doesn't give? Why it doesn't melt, but instead it gives out the gas or the perfume, isn't it? That is because of this process called as sublimation. There are few solids which has the process of sublimation. Okay, so hope you have understood this topic. In the next topic, I shall read this now once. Okay. Page number 148. We know that when solids are heated, they are converted first into liquid and then into vapor, that is gaseous form. Similarly, on cooling, the vapors are converted first into liquids and then into solids. But some solids on heating directly convert into their vapor state and vice versa without passing through the liquid state, and this is called as sublimation. Listen to the pronunciation, that is sublimation. Example is camphor, incense stick, iodine, naphthalene ball, and there are many other solid example for sublimation. See, there is an activity. What happens to naphthalene balls kept in an almirah after a few days? Why? That is because of the sublimation. So let's see one more activity. Light a wax candle and observe what happens to the wax after some time. Okay, now put off the candle and observe what happens to the melted wax, and write here. This is an example for change in state of substance. This is not an example for sublimation. They have asked few examples. You have to identify which property does it have. Okay. So here I end up the class. In the next session we shall be learning few more properties, that is mass, density and pressure, which is very very important. You have to know this because this will continue till your till your higher education, until it ends, because you should know what is mass, you should know what is density, you should know what is pressure. That we shall enjoy while teaching. I will enjoy while teaching, you enjoy while learning. Okay, so here I wind up the class. Hope you have understood this topic. If you have any doubt, call me personally, I will explain you. And go through the textbook, my dear students. Read it daily. You should never miss reading the textbook. Thank you. All the best.